You're about to watch a great interview on TYT Interviews. If you want to watch them live, members are the only ones who get to do that. tytnetwork.com/join. Become a member, enjoy the interviews as they happen.
You only need to spend a little bit of time in a YouTube comment section or on Reddit to know that a certain percentage of America's men, especially the younger ones, have got some issues that need working through. And one label that's been put on those issues is toxic masculinity. When we talk about that topic, we typically talk about the way that it affects society at large and especially women, which is of course important, and in International Women's Day, we should be doing that. But in addition, we do want to talk about a different angle, how it affects men themselves. And to do that, we're bringing on Francesca Fiorentini, host of Newsbroke, who just put out an awesome video on this topic. Hello, Francesca, welcome to the show.
Hey, John, good morning.
Great to have you on. So I loved your video on this topic. By the way, for the audience who might not yet be familiar with your program Newsbroke, it has been described as the antidote for fake news in Trump's America in an article, which I loved.
Yeah, that I hope we're doing that a little bit. Thank you for having a woman on International Women's Day to talk about toxic masculinity for all of those men out there who seemingly are upset about a woman being on to talk about this. I appreciate you, John, making the space.
No problem. And look, this is a thing that a lot of people don't like to talk about this topic. It's one of the areas where when you're on the left, it's an oddly PC area where you're supposed to just sort of know in the back of your mind that there are these psychological issues that are causing social and individual problems, but you're not supposed to do anything about it. And so I am curious, you've made videos about any number of different topics, about immigration and Donald Trump and a million other things in politics. What did your audience think about? What was the reaction like to this particular topic?
You know, I was really surprised that many audience members and people who hadn't been watching Newsbroke videos really liked what we did with this piece, where we basically started off and utilizing men's voices, right? Actor Justin Baldoni, anti-sexist activist and educator named Jackson Katz. These guys, of course, speaking on TED Talks, which seemingly is the safest space for men to be able to openly and publicly talk about toxic masculinity, but they were super thoughtful. And so I think for this piece, what I did as a woman, right, I was like, okay, we know that sexism and patriarchy, they favor men and they are about the suppression and oppression of women. Got it. But putting myself in a man's shoes, right? How are men experiencing sexism? What are the other messages that they're getting which tell them to be dominant, which tell them to act a certain way, which tell them to suppress their emotions? So our audience was really receptive to the point where I'm a little concerned now. I was like, do you know we're also really progressive and have a lot to say about Republicans?
They'll figure that out sooner or later, don't worry.
They'll figure that out. But I mean, for example, one thing that we did, because it wasn't just about, oh, hey, you're supposed to, be tough and lift weights and all this, but I think something we tried to make a connection to was given the number of mass shootings, and especially in the wake of Parkland, just the ways that even places like the alt-right online are preying on young men and sort of using that maybe knee-jerk reaction towards like feminism to essentially radicalize them and say, yeah, feminism is just a part of this, ploy to basically suppress and oppress you and oppress white men. And then that's sort of where the seedlings of something even, darker or whiter come in. So we made that connection, and surprisingly, people were super receptive to it.
So you talked about briefly that in your video, you were focusing on a lot of the men who were trying to reach out to men and tell them about these problems that they might on some level know about but haven't really thought about, and trying to teach them that this is something you can do about it. So in your research, watching these videos, what are the main techniques that they use to try to push past the natural, like the hesitance or resistance to doing anything about insecurity and fears about the place of women and what does it mean to be a man and all of that stuff?
I think you mean how do they recruit, sort of based on this like toxic misogyny?
Well, I mean the guys that you were showing, the anti-sexists and stuff like that. What are they doing to try to reach out to more and more men?
I mean, you see like the Heart of a Man, which is an organization up in Canada. They basically are number one, creating men's groups and creating spaces where men can actually speak to one another. And I think oftentimes we're online, we feel like we have the world looking in on our issues. And so creating a safe space for men to talk about their own issues. And I think, we know men's groups often happen in like churches and community centers, but rarely do you see men's groups that are just kind of, hangouts outside of like Frisbee golf. But maybe turn your next Frisbee golf or, I don't want to say Entourage screening, but maybe watch Entourage and then have like a 20-minute check-in about how that upheld or didn't uphold some toxically masculine behavior. But not really that. It's more of a like being, having a safe space to talk about your emotions. So a lot of the TED Talks, a lot of the work is, are you going to be quote unquote man enough? Because I don't want to sort of buy into that same, manning up or all this, but are you man enough to, say when you're feeling hurt or be vulnerable or be insecure and be openly insecure?
Yeah.
And it's weird we're talking about this on International Women's Day because, a lot of women, I think, are all about talking about their empowerment, and it's like, yes, queen, go girl, all these like positive reinforcements, which is so awesome and so necessary when it comes to living in patriarchy. But I think for men, even though they benefit from sexism and they benefit from patriarchy, just being able to say, walk around late at night and not feel at all ill at ease, right? It doesn't mean we don't need positive reinforcement. It doesn't mean there don't need to be positive messages from men as well. And so, yeah, I'm super curious to hear like what other people think about and what you think about what those positive messages could be.
I mean, I actually plan on. I have a psychologist friend who does male like therapy groups and stuff like that. We're gonna have him on next week to talk about what he's been sort of figuring out about how you can sort of reach out and fix some of the problems that you're talking about. But I do want to touch on, you talked about the spaces men can talk about their issues. We also know on the other side, there are some other spaces where they can and do talk about issues and perhaps create more issues, like red pillars and men going their own way, and a lot of these places, the Donald, places where the alt-right or those sorts of groups will try to, I believe the way you put it was prey on male insecurity and things like that. So how are they trying to recruit?
Well, they call it the manosphere, so get your terminology right, John. The manosphere. Oh God, man, I don't. So after a day of researching this for our piece, it's kind of one of those days where like you just need to watch kitten videos and Parks and Rec for the next 12 hours because I didn't know about the world of pickup artistry. I didn't know about. Didn't really know about the world of red pilling, but again, it's a little bit of men think their safe space means that that safe space is going to be toxic towards women. So safe spaces for men or spaces where men like to hang out, let's put it online, whether it's in gaming sites or whether it's in if it's on Reddit, it's talking about politics. But usually what in my research, and I'm sure you know this, is that a lot of the specifically misogynist internet culture has come out of gaming circles. And that doesn't mean all gamers are sexist at all. It just
I'm a gamer.
Means that, there you go. Hell yeah, woke ass gamer, dude. And so that's the thing. But you're there and you've unloaded an entire, I don't know, clip into who are you killing, zombies or what? I don't know what you guys do.
Sometimes it's aliens, sometimes it's zombies, sometimes it's Nazis. You never know.
Well, anyway, and then all of a sudden someone's like, sup, you want to learn how to, have more sex? I don't know what they say. Get more sex.
You would be a terrible recruiter for online seduction forums.
The point is I think, how can men have their fun spaces and spaces that are all theirs, but then that aren't necessarily misogynist? And I know Gamergate really just, seemed like an affront to like this suddenly safe male space, rather than a real and honest critique about how everyone does love gaming and it's not just for men. And
exactly, yeah.
So yeah.
I am gonna have to cut you off. Unfortunately, we're about to run out of time. I wish that we had more time to talk about this, but thank you so much for lending your insight based on the research you've done into this. Hopefully we'll have you back on the show soon to talk about this and other topics.
Thank you, John. Happy Women's Day.
You too.
If you like the interview that you just watched, I got great news for you. If you become a Young Turks member, you can watch them live as they happen. Only the members get that. You also get Young Turks live. You also get Aggressive Progressive live and Old School live. Everything is available for the members and commercial free. tytnetwork.com/join.